Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy.
Let's do this. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 755. It is May 11th, 2023. My name is Chris Davis. I am your host tonight because Nick is on vacation. But don't worry, I'm here with Brad Simons.
Hello.
And Chris Guthridge.
What up?
And we have got stuff we have to get out of the way tonight because Zelda launches in less than 3 hours, and that's going to consume our lives for the next month.
Or more.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about it. I've been curtailing friendships over this. You know, like really making people not want to hang out with me anymore.
I mean, it sounds more like your friends are curtailing their friendships with you. Like the fact that they choose to play another video game as Zelda is launching within hours.
I know. My friend's deciding that this week is the week to get into Monster Hunter Rise after I've already put 200 hours into it on multiple platforms is like, it's just, you know, it's typical, right? It's just typical.
Very inconsiderate.
I've been gaslighting Henry into caring about Zelda because I feel like that's the only way I'm going to have enough time to like play it as much as I want is to, you know, play it with him around constantly.
How are you gaslighting
How do you
him?
do that?
Well, just telling him that this is a dad and son game. We need to play it together. It's going to be his first game that he
Remember how much you love Legend of Zelda?
Yeah.
You've always loved
I don't
Legend
know.
of Zelda.
We'll see. I think it'll be fun to watch. It's probably fun to watch.
Father and son bonding over the latest and greatest from Nintendo. Why not? Okay.
Might be
Well,
actually, well, I'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it. So before we get into it,
I thought this was a game for sad businessmen to play on their commute home.
You bring up a good point. Like most of my gaming these days, I play handheld, but like I feel like it's disrespectful to Zelda to play it in handheld mode. I feel like it deserves a television.
I agree.
It's a TV game.
I do not want to play this game handheld at all. I bought a new Pro controller just for the occasion.
It's too pretty to be just a pure handheld experience. Like you gotta plug
I'll probably
that shit
play
in.
like the first probably dozen hours only on a TV, and once I really get into like the hook and the loop, maybe I'll take it handheld. But I don't know. It deserves the big screen for sure. Well, what are we talking about? Y'all know the topic of the night. We got to get into it. Come on,
let's start off with housekeeping. So, want to remind everyone, we do have a Discord, and we have a very active and very fun community over there, full of delightful and terrifying conversations going on, and some delightful memes as well. You can come visit us at discord.gg/4player. We also have a Patreon if you wanted to support us in some financial way. Where Patreon keeps the lights going on around here. Solves a good number of our issues, keeping the stream up and keeping the Discord going and keeping us going, really. So if you want to support us, we're at patreon.com/4player. And of course, if you're watching live on Twitch right now, you can do the Prime Gaming Twitch sub. It's free. Just you switch it out every month. Just press a button and it helps us out. So thank you very much. But it's time for us to really talk about the elephant in the room, which is the Fantasy Critic update for this week. And man, is that a big ass elephant.
Before we get into this, I just want to say that there is money on the line. The winner does get $300, you know, because we're each chipping in $50, which we haven't done that yet. And the loser has to play Redfall on stream for a few hours.
Wait, right? What? Really?
Wasn't that the agreement?
Well, I think the agreement
Redfall?
was that we played the worst game on our list, but if we switch that out for the worst game anyone chose, I think that'd be fair.
No, someone just made the joke in our Discord that the loser has to play the worst game on their list, and someone said, "Oh, that means we're gonna get a Redfall stream." That's not fair. Y'all be nice to Nick.
Dude,
That's supposing that Nick loses, though.
can I just reiterate that, like, in an amazing year of amazing surprises and amazing video games, Redfall really is like a big blow to me. Like a big disappointment. I've been looking forward to that game since they announced. I really didn't think it was going to be this bad. I didn't think it was going to be bad at all. And
Like
here we
I
are.
did.
I did listen to y'all's conversation a little bit last week where y'all kind of being sad about it. And while was never really looking forward to Redfall because of the kind of game it was, I am an Arcane fan, and to see, like, I don't know,
To see any studio of good repute put out a game like this is just like,
I feel like Phil Spencer was throwing them under the bus a little bit, even though he kind of does his pity party, like, I'm taking all the blame, the shit that he's been doing for, I don't know, a decade now. How long has he been doing this shit?
it's his job.
I don't really buy it anymore. But at the same time, he's like, oh, it's my fault. It's my fault. But also, this was completely Arcane's idea to make this game this way. Games as a servicey thing. This wasn't us. This was their idea. I don't know. It just seemed a little shitty. I hope they, I don't know. I think they're too talented to,
There's a story. There's a story, and I can't wait until we can hear it.
It's not a story. It's going to be like an epic description.
Maybe there will be an amazing 74-part documentary about it.
Speaking of story, I would say that the most exciting narrative of our fantasy league this year, from the moment of the third pick of our draft, the third round of our draft, where Chris Davis decided to choose an unannounced Mortal Kombat game, to today, this has been the story to follow, and we have two key players here. The person who drafted Mortal Kombat, the 12th Mortal Kombat game, and the person who counterpicked it.
Take it easy with that, the 12th Mortal Kombat game stuff.
Here
okay,
we go.
I'll give it to you.
It says Mortal Kombat 12.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you that I thought it said unannounced. I didn't know it said Mortal Kombat 12
unannounced
during the draft, unannounced. And I think that's because this game had been rumored for a very long time. And they name a lot of these things on Fantasy Critic based on rumors. Like, it wouldn't have even shown up on the list as a potential thing to bid on if there wasn't a rumor for Mortal Kombat.
Right. There are hundreds of entries on Fantasy Critic, surely, that are just, say, unannounced X title or something like that.
Exactly. Like the two Mario games that got announced, like 3D mainline game, 2D mainline game. But this was specifically saying 12 based on rumors. And
I mean, why don't we just go over the details of the announcement?
Yeah.
Chris Davis, if you'd like to do the honors.
Okay. So Ed Boon has been trolling for a good long while, ever since a month before last, when Suicide Squad showed itself off and was horribly received. And in that financial call with the CEO of Warner Brothers Interactive, to do damage control, the CEO specifically called out to the investors, coming this year, the highly anticipated Mortal Kombat 12. And so the marketing machine has been, he did say 12. And so the marketing machine has been slowly revving up, and they're now they are doing teasers right now. We are probably within days of a formal announcement of the next Mortal Kombat title.
It also is somewhat leaked.
Well, there was leaks today of we know what the thing is called. But we know the release window.
Describe the teaser, because I think they're playing into the MK12 joke.
Okay, right. But that's the thing, right? Like for context for why I was so mad yesterday, like why I was fighting tooth and nail for this thing, is because the draft pick was Mortal Kombat 12, right? That's the premise that we're beginning with, is that the draft pick was Mortal Kombat 12. Does that mean that the game has to be titled Mortal Kombat 12? No, not necessarily. We're saying that it's going to be the 12th
And I do want to say the spirit of his pick was probably the next Mortal Kombat game.
Look, and I agree with all of that. But it wasn't just like whatever Mortal Kombat game or Mortal Kombat adjacent game comes out this year. The pick was from day one, Mortal Kombat 12. And this has just been the big fucking joke of this league is how insane that was, and then how the stars started aligning for this to happen. And now it's like I'm the asshole because I'm not like I'm not fucking Nostradamus.
Crispy,
but no, hang on. No. I'm not getting into the victim narrative. What I am saying is that in this joke there is two sides. There's the winner and the loser, and those dynamics are flipping, and that's kind of funny to see the guy who was so sure that he had such a safe counter pick and also has a pretty strong list besides is now getting like kind of wombo comboed flopped on him, and that sucks. And that's funny, cathartic. I get it. I get the humor in it. All right, but like this was all predicated.
Victory lap for Chris Davis,
sure, insane. All right, whatever. Maybe you're happy for Chris, or you're happy that I'm getting shafted. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But come on, man. That fucking teaser. Like,
it's funny.
Like,
it's
the fucking teaser was a clock counting from 11, about to go to 12, and then skipping it and going back to 1. And you can't just sit there and say, no, that didn't happen, or that doesn't count, or that doesn't mean anything. Like, come the fuck on.
It's comedy. But here, okay, it is funny. And there is an argument. Okay, there's an argument for both sides, but meaning if this really is considered, ultimately it's going to come down to what Fantasy Critic decides, right? They do this all the time where they update titles based on upcoming games, right? Like this, the thing is, if this is considered a remake and not a remake of Mortal Kombat 1 and not Mortal Kombat 12, like I could see where they don't update it. They don't update what Chris Davis bid on. But if you look at the history of Mortal Kombat and how they treat their games, they've rebooted their story. The Mortal Kombat 1 thing is like, it's a fucking joke. The last couple of games were all about time travel.
Exactly.
It's a story reboot. This is still going to be the next updated Mortal Kombat game. They've already announced crossover characters like what's his Headlander? What's the dude from
so there's
Homelander's going to be in the game. That's not a remake of Mortal Kombat 1. Are you fucking kidding me? They're just
it's not just it's Homelander from the
game.
So it's Homelander from the boys, and it's Peacemaker from the DC films.
Oh, I see. Yeah. They've literally done this before. Mortal Kombat 9, they call just Mortal Kombat because we're going to reboot the story again. They've done this shit constantly. They also rebooted it with Deadly Alliance. They've got rid of numbers. They've called, this is such a, it's honestly, let's step away from Fantasy Critic for a second. I feel like NetherRealms is out of ideas. They've done this shit before, and like this is not very exciting. Them rebooting the story, remaking the original game, whatever you want to call it, Chris Davis or Crispy. Like this seems pretty like creatively bankrupt, and I feel bad. Where is Injustice 3? I feel like we weren't ready for another Mortal Kombat. And
yes,
well,
but is Injustice 3 less creatively bankrupt?
Well, I mean, as far as like doing story stuff with Mortal Kombat, I mean, come on.
Right. What else are they gonna do? Sure.
So NetherRealm has done 3 DC fighting games. MK versus DC. There was Injustice and Injustice 2. Injustice 3, sure, that would be a seller. But the problem is, for the past 2 years, WB has been so turbulent in their whole interactive field, to where you have no guarantees about projects being supported or people not getting laid off. So it's a safer bet to use the IP that you own, develop on that, which already has a huge following already, and to build that out for a next generation engine. Because why not?
Sure. Like it all makes sense. I've made my peace with it, but like, come on, like there's wiggle
It's
room
funny.
there. I can see daylight. I
It's
can
funny.
see the daylight. All right, like Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero. Is that a mainline game?
No, because it's
Is
not
it
a fighting
possible? Is it possible for them to make something that isn't a mainline
game.
Mortal
NetherRealms
Kombat?
defined their series. It's the same thing that Nintendo did with Mario Kart when they started numbering them again. They said this one is Mario Kart 7, and then the one after that was called Mario Kart 8. The ones before that didn't have numbers, but they established that these are our mainline Mario Kart games, and now we're on the 7th one. Mortal Kombat has done the exact same thing. The exact same thing when they started numbering them again, and that's probably why during that earnings call they called it Mortal Kombat 12, because my guess is internally they've been calling it MK12.
Yes.
And it's probably because this is going to be their next main serious Mortal Kombat games. The ones that's played at tournaments, the fully featured, robust online fighting game. Like, this is the next Mortal Kombat. Whatever we call it, I don't think anyone is going to disagree that it's not the next Mortal Kombat game, right? The main next Mortal Kombat game. This is not a
Right.
remaster of the original game. There's not going to be 8 characters and 2 moves for each character. It is going to be
Okay, but
the
what
next
if?
fully featured. Like, fighting games have done this before. Street
What
Fighter
if?
has gone back to like their original rosters. They're
What
going back.
if? What if?
What if?
All I'm saying is what if. Look, I get it. I've made my peace with it. We got a little spicy in chat yesterday, but it's fine. I've made my peace with it. You can't fault a guy for trying. Oh,
No,
come on.
absolutely
Come
not.
on.
If it was my counterpart,
It's just that teaser sent me over the fucking
it's
edge.
hilarious. It's literally the
It sent
funniest
me
shit that
over
could
the
have happened.
goddamn cliff. That like
It's the funniest shit that
what?
could have happened. It's almost like Ed Boon is out to get Chris Davis, specifically.
Me specifically.
No. Yeah,
No,
Chris.
no, the teaser was laughing at Chris
Chris
Davis.
Davis. Yeah.
No, I mean
Yeah,
that's
you're
that's
right.
just Ed Boon's style. I mean, if you look back at his social media history, like it's all about just teasing people and making fun of them for begging for Mortal Kombat stuff.
But it's just a cheesy like this is Xbox One or whatever. Like, they're just so confused and out of ideas that they just don't know what to name their shit anymore. They should have called it Mortal Kombat Series X or something. It's just it's bad. Hopefully the game is cool. Hopefully it's like,
Yeah.
maybe they've worked on their animations, because their animations have always been really stupid. They're low. What is the low medium kick or whatever? That's always looks fucking awful no matter what character you pick. It's like they're just doing a shitty little kick.
But the animations aren't like what you come to for Mortal Kombat.
I mean, what do you mean? I mean, you come for the blood and gore, but I'm sure we'd be happy with Tekken quality animations at the same time. It can look better.
And
It can always look better.
I mean, I think it's almost a guarantee that this new game is going to look better. I mean, there have been suggestions that this is a UE5 game.
What does that mean?
Like Unreal Engine 5.
No, I know what UE5 means, but what are the? I mean, sure.
I mean, because like from my understanding,
but Brad, it's UE5.
The one of the problems with UE4, if I remember correctly, was that there was considerable amount of input lag that wasn't conducive to a fighting game development scene. So like if that's supposedly that's pretty much been solved with UE5. So if they built it on UE5, like it's going to look prettier, but it's also going to play better.
Okay.
That's fine. All we can hope for now is that it sucks or it gets delayed. I mean, which are possible.
I think the best chance Crispy has at this point is that it doesn't actually make it this year, which I think is a real possibility.
They're saying September.
Yeah, they're saying September.
Are the rumors saying September? Ooh,
yes.
That's not good.
Yes.
That's not good.
But they're already detailing like the collector's editions and everything.
It's not unreasonable for maybe something unrelated to video games will happen in the world, some horrible tragedy involving Mortal Kombat characters, and they'll delay it indefinitely. I don't fucking know.
That's true.
Crispy,
a war breaks out between heaven and hell,
right?
Or whatever the fuck.
Duel 1, let's rock.
Maybe,
but like
maybe.
Crispy, think about it this way. Okay, look, you are going to lose points on Mortal Kombat. I'm going to lose points on Armored Core. So
I'm
it's
not
a fair
looking at it
exchange.
this way.
Y'all's points
Don't
don't
know.
fucking matter. So what if Crispy loses 15 or so points and Chris Davis gains them? It doesn't matter. Nolan just earned like 38 points on a single slot.
That's the other part of the Fantasy Critic tonight is that Zelda reviews dropped today. It's a 97 on Open Critic right now.
Okay, his projections have skyrocketed now. They're saying he's projected to end the league with 127 points, which would put him in a commanding lead. And I gotta say, guys, this can't be how this ends. This can't be how this ends. That the first guy who made the first pick of the year just wins by
And it's Nolan.
Come on.
Winning a big, huge money pot. Look,
Yeah.
I don't want this to happen. But I've never wanted this to happen. I've been saying Nolan is the one in the lead since the fucking beginning, and it was never about Zelda. It was never about Zelda. I mean, we're kind of about Zelda. But if you look at the rest of his list, do the fucking math. Look at your own lists. Do the math. He doesn't have any no ships. Everything he has is like an 80, right? And he still has Pikmin, Planet of Lana, like games that we know are going to score well based on like history, based on like, you know, a previews. Like he has no weak links.
The only one I would
the only way he
question
fucks up is if he bids on some really fucking rancid games like a Redfall or whatever, you know. And if he plays it safe, and I know he will, he's been slow playing it, and he's been saving his money.
Lana.
Planet of Lana, dude. Like the previews from Next Fest were like insanely positive. Like
the Plucky Squire, like he's really gonna hit 8 points on the Plucky Squire.
No, but all he has to avoid are
Bomb
like
Rush Cyberpunk.
Are like he has no 70s. That's everybody's got fucking no ships or negative points or 70s. He has none of that, and he has Zelda. If he just plays it slow and safe until the end of this thing, I don't think anybody has a chance to catch him. I really don't. And that sucks.
The only weak link he has, right? The weakest link of his entire list is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and that's just because we really don't know the extent of what that game is.
Look, I'm trying to keep that one quiet. I don't want him to, you know. But he already picked up the 3. Did he pick up one of the Marios, or no? He didn't get it.
No.
So he can still drop something. So honestly, if you see a weak link on his list, just keep quiet about it. Okay. Just keep fucking quiet about it.
Yeah.
Look. If I'm not trying to be anti-Nolan, I'm not trying to be mean. He is a friend of mine, but I hate that he got first pick, and I hate that he has the list that he does, because if Nolan wins this thing, it's just a fucking meme, right? Like,
so we want Warhammer 40K to do well.
We do.
Warhammer 40K is not even going to come out.
It is. I don't know why you keep saying that. It is.
When's the last time we've even heard anything about that game?
It's gonna come out. I don't know. They don't have a lot of money for fucking advertising, but it's
a
great
great fucking counterpick for Nolan, because even if it ships, I don't think it's gonna do all that well.
It's gonna be great. Shut up.
The first game didn't even score that well, and that was an actual good developer. Now it's got some fucking developer who does like support work for other studios. Like, they're not gonna make an amazing fucking Warhammer game. It's gonna be a 72 at best.
They might, Brad. You don't know. I am ready for you to
You're
eat
gonna
humble
get
pie
2
on this
points
one.
on that if it comes out.
Shut up.
I'm sorry.
According to
I'm not trying to be
Metacritic,
about anybody's lists.
According to Metacritic, Space Marine came out and they rated it as a 74.
And Space Marine is cool, but you know what?
Was kind of cool. That game was kind of cool.
We haven't heard anything about this game. It's such a delay game. Look, at least nobody has a Nick list.
But
right?
I feel like the people are ready.
About that.
Right? Like the people are ready for good Warhammer games, and there's a lot of them coming out. That bolt gun game looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
a lot of people are like,
on it.
Why? You don't think it's gonna do good?
Fucking boomer shooters are a dime a dozen, dude. Man, really.
There are good boomer shooters out there, but I mean, there's just so many Warhammer games. They're willing to license that franchise out to anyone that has $50.
People are ready.
At this
Okay,
point,
you're right.
honestly, everybody needs to be taking big swings because I feel like we're going to stagnate and we're not even halfway through the year and it's going to get boring where
Okay.
Nolan's list is going to, Pikmin's going to come out, Lana's going to come out, some of his other games are going to come out and Nolan's going to have a commanding lead, Nick's going to have a commanding loss, and the rest of us are going to be like, well, what do we do now? This is boring.
So
No,
here's I think what is a really big problem.
Let's see what the summer looks like, okay? Because the summer, like, we're coming up on the summer of Crispy, so like, it's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna do really well.
You're gonna have a great June.
Have you done the math? I want you to look at your list and give it and score
the math?
Score your no. I'm serious. Give realistic expectations for every game on your list that doesn't have a score yet, and compare it to Nolan's list. Let's say everything he gets from now is an 80. Pikmin 80, Planet of Lana 80. Everything is an 80. Do the math and compare your list to his list and see where y'all shake out.
I mean, if you look at the projected numbers, Chris, you are in second against Nolan.
Stop it. Stop about the projected numbers. Do the math yourself.
Yeah. But here's
numbers have always been a joke.
Yeah, no, I know.
Look, I think Armored Core is going to be a bigger bomb than you guys think it's going to be.
85.
I mean, bomb, like good. I think it's going to be
85.
Okay,
right?
I was going to say.
90.
You think Armored Core is going to be a 90?
I think Armored Core is going to be a 90.
Fucking you sweet summer child.
It's coming, dude. You don't understand. I can feel it in the ether, man. Like people are talking about Armored Core. It's out there. It's in the zeitgeist. People are thinking about it. People are breaking it down. People are going like, you know what? I am ready. I am ready for the next level of mech experience, and I think Armored Core 6 is gonna be that experience.
Dude.
I really think we live in a post Elden Ring world. You can't deny that.
Yeah, if they were making mech Elden Ring, maybe
they might be making mech Sekiro, which could be amazing.
They're not making mech.
They're not.
Sekiro.
They're not doing that.
They're
making
a
cool looking Armored Core game.
Look, I don't think you guys like. It's in the ether, man. Like I'm feeling it.
The ceiling on that is like an 85.
I feel the way the shit clings to the air. Like
90.
The most hopeful experience I think you get out of Armored Core is for it to be Mech Neo. Like
you don't go from
it might be that.
You don't go from okay. First of all, Neo is not only one awesome, two.
It is no, it absolutely is, but it's not an open world experience.
Okay,
it is a mission based experience.
And say Mech Bloodborne.
Stop it! Look. You don't go from Armored Core 6 being like a 68 to Armored Core 7 being a 90. It doesn't happen. Like
dude, it might. It might. We live in a different world now. Coronavirus changed everything. We live in a different world.
Look, Armored Core is cool, and we're all going to play it, but at least all of us here are going to play it. But
Okay.
I'm going to look at your list, and I'm going to give you realistic scores, and I want you to add those up. And like optimistic scores, okay? Not like Armored Core is going to get a 90, but I'll give you a healthy scores, and then we'll do the math. I'm curious. I haven't sat down and done the math myself. I mean, I don't know. I've been middle of the pack concerned for whatever. We should move on.
Well, there's one more thing I wanted to mention tied into this. Is the fact that Nintendo announced that they are skipping the summer showcase and they are doing their own in September. So,
what?
Yeah.
Nintendo announced they're skipping the summer showcase?
Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing their next proper showcase in September.
That's not good. That's not good for like the amount of money I'm sitting on. I need some shit coming out this fall.
Yeah. I mean, that for me kills any momentum of a Mario game. This might kill the rumored Donkey Kong game coming out this year.
Okay, but maybe it kills like a 3D Mario game, but like a 2D Mario game.
2D is more realistic than 3D, sure, but
yes.
2D Mario ain't gonna score a 97. That's the thing. Only the 3D Mario will.
I beg to differ, but okay. I think the people are ready. We live in a post Elden Ring world.
We live in a post Mario Brothers movie world.
Yeah, the people are ready.
Yeah.
Listen,
And they're ready for a Donkey Kong game. Is what
They're ready
for.
and they're waiting, and all they need is a strong man to come and show them the way.
Can I
and
ask
that
y'all
man
something?
is Mario.
This is maybe we can use this to like transition, but has anybody here seen the Mario movie?
I haven't. I want to.
I have. I saw it with Henry. Are y'all curious about?
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard it's fun but pretty vapid.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's Illumination.
While that's true, both of those are true. It's also like very nostalgic, and like I was surprised. Like every scene has like a new like amazing like arrangement of like a classic Mario song, and it's like holy shit! I was not expecting this much Mario love from this movie, and that part is really surprising. And it's just a very visually pleasing animated film too, which I guess I wasn't really expecting that either.
They put out a couple of like really short scene clips before that were, I mean, like extremely watchable. Like the one where he's like going through the city or whatever on his way up to the castle to meet Princess Peach. It's like it's so fun, but yeah, it doesn't look like it. I don't know. Like it doesn't look like it is maybe gonna hit the same sort of thematic stride as like, I don't know, what's another, like the Lego movie, right? Like this kids movie that could have been this really like vapid fun thing.
This is not like a good movie. It's not like a good story or anything. It's pretty like that stuff is pretty bad, but it's very entertaining to watch if you are even remotely like fond of the Mario brothers, you know? And I feel like that stuff, that nostalgia, that stuff is better than really way better than I thought it would be.
Do you think there's, I mean, like, did Henry like it?
Oh yeah, dude. Like it like any kid's gonna, I mean, this is something that is, I think, rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, but like 98% audience score. Like people are happy about the film, even if critics are like, "What is this dumb shit?"
Right.
Which is fine. But like,
I mean, whatever.
It's not even like, it's not even really funny. Like that's the problem.
Right.
Like there are like DreamWorks. Like who the fuck made this?
This was Illumination.
Oh,
the Minions people.
Yes.
Yeah. But like I would say like a Despicable, like the first Despicable Me is like a funnier, more entertaining movie than this. Like as something that's the way it entertains is surprising. Like it's entertaining in the way you look at like Mario Odyssey and go like, oh, everything I'm looking at here is delightful. This is,
but it's not like
nice.
a deep narrative experience or anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm a frog now, and this is crazy.
Right, and I mean, you know, the reaction to that is generally like, oh, well, it's a kids movie. Why shouldn't it be? Blah, blah, you know, whatever. I mean, like, I don't think it's
there's some good
wrong
kids movies.
There's some great kids movies. There are good kids movies that do not have strong narrative threads, and there are good kids movies that do have strong narrative threads. I don't think it's,
you know, the last movie I saw with Henry in a theater, fucking that Puss in Boots movie. That movie whips, and it looks good. If y'all see it on like streaming or whatever, I think it's like streaming, I recommend it. It's like a good movie.
Yeah, really, a lot of people say that.
Yeah, it's good. It's very funny. It's very entertaining, and it's all about like death.
95%.
You know, he's on his last life, and he's coming. I mean, it's a cat who's coming to grips with the fact that he's on his last life, and what does that mean? Yeah. It's, which, by the way, a lot of weird conversations with Henry after that movie, but you know, still, it's good.
Did he learn about death?
I mean, that's all he talks about these days. He's like fucking
great.
Wednesday Addams. It's weird.
Love it.
but yeah,
it's best to get it out of the way now, I guess.
Mario's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's it for housekeeping and the Fantasy Critic. And I guess we got some news we can talk about.
Well, let's hear it. You're our news guy. You're our.
I'm
Jeff
the
Grubb
news guy.
Light.
You're the news like desk.
You're a very diet Jeff Grubb. And I only say that because Jeff Grubb is usually pretty thorough in his news segments, you know.
I mean,
so
that
like,
he runs a news show that's 5 days a week, so like,
yeah.
Like and plus, I mean, I only had like 45 minutes to prep for this episode tonight, so I cannot be the news guy tonight, really. But I can go over some things that have been happening.
You're more prepped than either of us.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
if you're saying 45 minutes is not nearly enough work for our news segment, that should be plenty.
Well,
But,
I had to make
yeah.
overlays and I had to do other things.
All
So
right, we'll take it away. Diet, caffeine-free Jeff Grubb.
Well,
okay. All right. Thank you. So we had the Mortal Kombat news, which we covered, coming out this September, modern consoles and Switch. We also have the Hollow Knight news.
Also,
That
I don't wait. Hold on. On Mortal Kombat, I don't think we actually said it, but the rumored title now is Mortal Kombat 1
Yes.
is the name of the game, which is insanity and funny. Continue. Sorry.
I mean, hey, they did Battlefield 1. If Battlefield can do
That's
it, they
true.
can do that. So,
So stupid.
yeah.
Mortal Kombat 1.
And who knows what that fucking means.
I mean,
anyway,
names
so.
mean things, right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I will, yeah.
Sort of.
It could mean anything. Also, Hollow Knight Silk Song, one of our most anticipated games of the decade at this point. Got a tweet from the developers. Evidently, Team Cherry has pushed it out of the first half of 2023. Saying,
anyone
quote,
was
development is still
expecting it.
continuing. Their
I
marketing
think they
manager-
had to say that because of the Microsoft, like all these games are coming out in the next 12 months. And then and Silk Song was part of that show.
Yeah.
And now it's not. I don't think anything but Redfall really from that list, but whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. They went on Twitter to say the game is shaping up. It's gotten quite big, so we have to take the extra time to make the game as good as we can. Expect more details from us once we get closer to release.
I really
So-
hope it ships because Carlos, he is a bit of a sleeping giant. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean,
So this is okay.
it specifically says we had planned to release in the first half of 2023. So I mean, it could certainly get somewhere between July and December, and I really doubt that game will be pushed into next year.
It's
at this
time.
point. It's time.
The people are ready.
Let me tell you, as someone who recently rewatched that most recent trailer from last year a few times this week, that game looks fucking incredible. I think people have leaned so hard into the meme that they forget that there's lots of footage for this game out there and it looks fucking amazing. I recommend anyone to go back and rewatch that most recent trailer because it looks so good. It looks so good. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I still regret to this day that I still have not played Hollow Knight 1. Especially from how much y'all have fucking talked about it. But
I mean,
Really?
all right, okay. See, this is the kind of shit where I feel like we should be writing these down because I remember a few weeks ago you're like, "Oh, I don't know what to play now. Maybe I'll play with some Legos." Or I don't know what the fuck you were saying, but it definitely wasn't anything exciting like Hollow Knight. You were dabbling in some really random shit.
I will tell you what I was dabbling in. It's what I completed yesterday, which was the campaign for TIE Fighter Total Conversion.
Okay. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, play Hollow Knight. Next time you own it, I'm sure, right? Next time, oh my god.
I don't know if I own it. I might have bought it.
Dude, they've sold that game for $5 before.
Surely I bought it on a sale.
You
I don't
probably
remember.
have it. Next
But-
time you have nothing to play because you finish games quickly, play Hollow Knight.
I mean, the reason I decided to finish TFTC instead of playing anything else was Zelda was coming out, and I didn't want to play anything that would invade Zelda time.
No, now's not a good time to start Hollow Knight, but when you're done with Zelda and your weekend or whatever you're going to do.
But 3 weeks ago when we were discussing this, still wouldn't have been a good time for Hollow Knight.
I don't know if that's true. You play games quickly, but
I mean,
whatever.
I
Just
do,
play it before
but-
Silk Song comes out.
I will try. But this is just a repeating conversation. The amount of games that I could list off for you that I have not played would stagger you probably.
And how many of those are better than Hollow Knight? Real talk.
Snap.
I mean, you'd try having to name games, and I would tell you yes or no. So, but I mean,
No, I mean, that was rhetorical.
Yeah.
They're not.
yeah.
All right. Sorry. Continue.
Well, I accidentally closed my window, and now I'm trying to find what I had lost. Oh, okay. Did you know that Saints Row is returning?
What?
So, last year, Saints Row was put out by Volition, a reboot of the franchise. And it didn't do well. Crispy played it. He talked about it. From what I understand, you were very lukewarm on it.
I
No,
was
he was more.
I was
higher
positive on
than
it.
most.
Positive.
I was higher on it than a lot of people, but I did also just kind of ran right through me and faded away, and I didn't finish it. So
Okay.
that's probably a worthwhile addendum to my previous review.
What's the news? I want to hear the news.
The news is that after Saints Row kind of bombed in the sales, they gave development support of that to Gearbox. And Gearbox, ever since that release, has been working on fixes and updates and expanded DLC content. And the first of that came out actually this week, with, I believe, a list of 800 fixes and quality of life updates, as well as a brand new area of the map.
What?
Yeah, like this is a thing.
Okay, first of all, Gearbox is stupid. Second of all, why would you do that and release it this week of all weeks? Already, no one was. I mean, people were struggling to care about Saints Row, but let's just put this out the week that Zelda comes out. I mean, what are they doing?
I mean, I understand that. I think the math they have is that if they didn't put it out now, then they probably have to delay it until like July or August at the earliest.
They are bad at math. They failed math class.
Yeah. And they already had expectations for their DLC release schedule for this game. Like there's going to be more updates to the map. There's more missions and storyline stuff coming out. I mean, evidently, Embracer has been really strong on pushing this stuff. And so we're finally getting to start to see what that push is.
Okay.
It
seems that more so than most games, that seemed like a cut your losses. Let's rethink this. Let's do Saints Row 1.
Maybe maybe the virality of that Dr. Han, the Good Doctor meme has revitalized interest in the character of Johnny Gat.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, I think the only thing they can do with Saints Row at this point is just to put out Saints Row 5 and call it Saints Row 5 and have it be those characters again and literally just pretend that this one never
Nothing
happened.
ever happened.
And spend the money, make sure it's good and bug free, and just a stupid game like Saints Row 4 and 3 and all those other ones.
Bring the superpowers back. That was
Keith
fun.
David, he's still alive, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, his rate might have gone up, but
yeah, he's probably fine.
Also, there's a writer's strike on. Don't forget.
There is also the writer's strike going on.
God.
But as far as like its actual impact on gaming, I don't think anything has come up yet.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
But hey, wish him the best of luck.
Let's be honest. Writing we don't care. I mean, writing went down the toilet as soon as Disco Elysium 2 fell apart, right? So who cares? It's all over. No more good stories in video games.
You gotta keep hope for the future, Brad. There's going to be there will be eventually a successor to Disco Elysium.
Don't worry, Brad. Neil Druckmann will make another game at some point.
No. Pay your writers, guys. Come on.
Yeah, pay writers. Like
Jesus. Okay. What else we got?
Yeah. That's pretty much all I had on the docket. Because I
want to talk about Castlevania. This is where I'm going to talk about Castlevania.
Castlevania, never heard of it. What is it?
Jeff Grubb said he heard some shit about a Sony showcase happening before all the summer festivities kick off with Jeff Keighley, right?
Yep.
Which makes it sound like that's probably going to be pretty soon, right? And I think someone sort of kind of backed up that rumor and threw in that Konami would be there as well. And if you look at sort of recent Konami rumors outside of, Silent Hill, they have stuff. I'm sure they might show stuff. But the rumor for a while has been a remake of a Metal Gear game of some sorts. And I think the latest unsubstantiated rumor is Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which is weird, a choice. I don't know. We'll see what that is. And then Castlevania reboot of sorts, which I believe the rumors say this would be actually the first thing that drops out of these Konami projects. Um, but it's got me thinking, is a what does a Castlevania reboot look like these days? Like, what do they do? What do people want? Is it something like a Lords of Shadows? Do they try to like reboot it completely?
I
Is it a
don't think
side-scrolling game? I mean, Bloodstain did really well. I mean, what
I
is
think it's just they know what they know what their most popular, most widely appreciated title is, and that's Symphony of the Night. And I think they would be absolute fools to move away from that.
you know.
Do they
So I
know
saw
that?
I saw a thread about this topic, and a lot of people got to talking about, or maybe it was specifically about Castlevania. A lot of people got to talking about what they want out of a Castlevania reboot, and it's kind of the thing that me and a lot of other people have been saying ever since Demon Souls, honestly. And it's to make Castlevania a Souls game, make it like Bloodborne. Bloodborne is already Castlevania Souls, right? And the thing is, I feel like there's been like the Souls games are great. I don't know if From Software would ever touch Castlevania. That would be like a dream project. But there's been a lot of like really competent like Souls likes, right? It's
Yeah.
just a really solid foundation. Like you can make a fun game when you make a Souls like, even if it doesn't tickle the storytelling fancy that people come to Souls games for, and all that stuff, right? Like there's some damn fun Souls likes even in the indie space. So if I think that would be probably like the smartest approach, honestly. I feel like 2D is cool, but unless you're getting some like really fancy like 2D developer like an ArcSys or something, like
Yeah.
the Guilty Gear guys, like unless you're getting a really fancy, or like a Vanillaware or something, right? Unless you're getting a really fancy 2D art studio, I think they have to go 3D. And I feel like the only way you go 3D in 2023, 2024 is to do a Souls like. But who makes that? Please not Mercury Steam.
Or
I don't
like
know.
like a Castlevania that looks like Jedi Survivor.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I
Who
mean
makes that though?
the real problem is
Respawn.
that you hit
No.
the nail on the head. Is that we don't
Please.
know who could possibly develop this game, because
Everybody's making Souls likes.
I
Anybody.
mean, everyone is making a Souls like, but the problem is, who do you
Give it
give
to three
Castlevania
guys
to,
who take 10 years to make it.
and who is Konami going to trust to develop some of this stuff? Because their most recent efforts in putting out some games have been real fucking stinkers.
Why
What do you
does
mean?
why
What does
does
that mean? What does that mean? What have they been putting out?
you
Contra, they put out a
I,
fucking Contra game, and that was
No, but
terrible.
how
I
old is
think
that at this point?
Like
I
is,
2
mean,
is
really?
years.
Huh?
I was like 2 years ago. I'll
isn't
look it
there
No,
up.
also like this is like you like I feel like you're assuming that they have the same reverence for the IP that like fans do, where you're like, who are they gonna trust to make this game? It's like I think Konami's a bit more mercenary than that.
hold on,
Like
hold on, hold on, hold on. The reason I disagree is because one, this is supposedly, according to rumors, like a whole new like effort from Konami to kind of like reboot all and release all these franchises. Look at all the shit they're doing with Silent Hill, for better or worse. Like they are coming out strong, trying to put out real video games. Secondly, like the anime, on
the
Netflix
Netflix,
was really popular, critically really well received. They're
Yeah,
already doing a spin-off with Richter Belmont. Like that sort of got Castlevania in the limelight. Also,
wait,
like
are
their
they?
collections have been very popular and well received. They did the classic Castlevania collection a few years ago, but more recently they did the GBA games, and people were really happy about those.
like
Like
the only projects
the
that they've
IP
been
is
releasing over the
strong.
past 5 years that have done really well are their collections. Like both of the TMNT stuff, all the the Castlevania stuff, they've been quality products.
Yeah.
But those are quality products based on games that were developed years ago.
No, of course. But I'm saying, like, their plan is to reboot this shit. Who fucking does it?
I
What if it is Motion Twin?
I don't know who
What
that
if-
is. Who is that?
So they made Dead Cells, and they went.
Oh
they
yeah,
went,
they just did that whole
yeah.
Castlevania expansion.
They went to Konami saying we want to do some Castlevania shit, and Konami was like,
But if those
"Let's make it a
guys,
bigger deal."
if those guys do end up making whatever this Castlevania project ends up being, wouldn't that imply that it's going to be something closer to like Dead Cells than it is
Yeah.
like 3D Castlevania
Yeah,
or like a
true.
Souls
Of
like?
course, of course.
But also,
I
like,
mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like I also feel like Konami, I don't know, like it seems like their goal is trying to be as lean as possible with a lot of what they've been putting out.
yeah,
Like they're trying
That's
to
not
make,
the vibe we got with recent Silent Hill. They announced like 6 Silent Hill games.
yeah, I guess, but maybe that, I don't know, maybe that maybe it's a zero-sum game. Like maybe the fact that they're focusing so heavily on Silent Hill projects means that they're going to try to like put out smaller, more critically acclaimed, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
if they can put out a really nice looking 2D Castlevania game that sells for $20-$30 and hit big with it,
yeah.
like that makes more sense to me than like some big 3D Souls like that is going to cost $60 and might score 75s or something, you know?
We'll see. I feel like the IP isn't strong enough though for like, I know I just said like the anime and stuff, right? But it's
Right.
still like a property that has never been huge in Japan. It's always been sort of, I guess, a little bit more Western and targeted, and I feel like that translates to reboot maybe. I don't know. I feel like the only way you get like a mainstream audience to care is to do a Souls like, and I think that's where people are with Souls likes honestly these days.
Well, I
I
mean,
think that's it. I
Maybe.
feel like a 2D game would make a lot of people happy. It might be like the critics, like people who've been playing video games for a long time would think it's really cool, but I don't think you're gonna get like a big new audience with something like that. I really don't.
yeah, but I mean, you can have your cake and eat it too. You could have a 2D Souls like. I mean, there have been plenty of successful entries of those.
Sure,
So,
but again, we've gotten plenty of those. Like almost every there's honestly probably like a dozen 2D Souls likes, and a lot of those are very like Castlevania vibey, already.
Yeah.
That wouldn't feel very unique.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, does Konami want unique at this point, or do they want to make money?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like okay. And to your idea about Motion Twin, I am receptive to the idea of them getting the Castlevania IP to make a video game entirely. Evidently, based on how Return to Castlevania was received, people really liked it, and they have created a formula with Dead Cells that people really enjoy. But I don't think they become the developers of the next Castlevania game. Are announced as such 3 months after their DLC for Dead Cells about Castlevania drops.
No, they can announce, the handshake or whatever. I guess the rumors have been around much longer than that, though. Honestly, you're right. It's probably not Motion Twin. It's probably like some, fucking suspect as. I mean, like a Mercury Steam. They're gonna like make some bad choice like that, and that worries me. Like they're gonna is Spark. What's the fucking studio that made like Lost Planet 3 or whatever, that stupid fucking studio?
No, that was Mercury Steam.
No, Lost Planet
Right?
3 is not Mercury Steam. It's like Spark something.
Are
I
you
mean, they're gonna
talking-
pick a bad Western
Spark
studio.
Unlimited.
Spark
Oh,
Unlimited.
that's right. Yeah.
I'm just worried that something like that's gonna happen. They're gonna try to lowball someone and be like, make it for $10 million.
Well,
Oh
the
man,
good news
Spark
is,
Unlimited was employee owned.
yeah, and
Really?
they shut down in
That's good.
2015. So
Yeah, well, they were bad, so that's okay.
they had some interesting ideas for games, just they didn't develop them well.
Ninja Gaiden Z
Going to be
43%.
arcade hosted. Man, we gotta move on. We got games
Yeah.
to talk about.
We can.
Do we?
Well, sort of, a little bit.
Well, okay. Well, let's talk about some video games. But do we want to take a break real quick, or do you want to just keep on?
Whatever y'all want to do, as long as we keep it short.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Let's go.
Truck.
All right. Well, then, gentlemen, the question I have for you is, do we talk first about Jedi Survivor or do we talk about The Darkest Dungeon?
Yes. I choose the first one.
Jedi Survivor? Really?
No. I mean,
you said the first one.
He means the first segment. He wants to talk about Darkest Dungeon 2.
Sorry, yeah, Darkest Dungeon 2. Did we have footage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Darkest Dungeon.
We have footage of me failing spectacularly. Maybe.
Well, that's what you do in Darkest Dungeon, right?
I guess, but like, how can I say this? It felt like more of the point in the first game than it does here. Like when I fail in this game, it feels bad.
It felt bad in the first game, but
it did feel bad, but it felt dramatic.
This is a very, very, very different type of game. And I feel like that's why this one has been a little contentious. You know, this is the reason I never bid on this game is because the community has been, ever since this has been in early access, I've seen a lot of the community, not just the community, but also like, you know, people like Carlos and actually people I listen to on podcasts and whatnot be kind of like, I don't know about this game. I don't know about this loop. I feel like I'm putting in a lot of time. It's very punishing. I'm not getting a lot back.
I just dumped all the candles I had into a feature that I don't even know what it does, and I didn't get anything out of it because I didn't have enough candles. So I just wanted to say that for anybody watching the video.
Can I ask you a question, Crispy? As someone who's played a little bit more than me, have you unlocked any new characters?
I have.
How do you do that?
Okay, that's an excellent question, Brad. I'm glad you asked. Because I had no idea how you unlock characters. I thought it was like, I thought they were going to be like rewards for like, you know, doing certain things or reaching certain milestones or making it far. You actually unlock them at that Altar of Hope, which is like okay.
Sorry, continue.
The Altar of Hope is that you've played a little bit, so you know this, but I'm just kind of saying this for people listening. The Altar of Hope is basically the between game stop that you go to between runs. You go to this place called the Altar of Hope where you do all of your like account wide progression. You know, you're leveling up, you're scaling, you make your heroes stronger, you unlock access to very slowly. You unlock access to new trinkets, new combat items, new characters. So that screen where you go to like level up the characters themselves and you've got all the the locked characters still grayed out, you just spend candles on those characters until you get to the first node. So it's like 2 candles to unlock every character.
So that's the part I didn't understand. So like I see like the Hellion, right?
Right.
And I see their candle bar, but it's grayed out. So I assumed, okay, I shouldn't
but you
spend
can
candles on this until I unlock this character.
Exactly. And it took me a couple runs to figure that out. And then I just looked it up and was like, what the fuck? Because I had that exact same instinct where it's like, well, I don't want to be spending these candles on characters I don't have yet, right? Because I don't know how to unlock them. And I might need to buff up the characters I do have in order to get them. And the answer is no, not at all. You just need to spend a couple candles to unlock that character. So if you have it is, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of just like kind of deciphering the UI and deciphering information in a way that I don't remember the first game being. Before we get too much farther in like opinions and gameplay experience, I do want to just kind of like lay out my experience with Darkest Dungeon a little bit, in that I played the first game for like 25 hours, I think is what it was at when I looked it up on Steam. Really, really liked the first game, but I never got into it to the depth that a lot of people did.
I love that game.
Yeah, like I did what you can do in 25 hours, basically, right? If that means anything to anybody. I never beat the game or anything like that. I got enough of a taste. Right, I got enough of a taste of like the management systems and like kind of the loop of the game to have a somewhat informed opinion on it, but I don't know all the secrets that lay within the cloisters of its heart, right? I also have not been following the development of Darkest Dungeon 2 at all. I only really started hearing about other people's opinions about it the day it launched. And I kind of just bought it on a whim because I'm at this weird point where it's like I have time to play games. I just finished Jedi Survivor and I'm waiting for Zelda, so it's like, what am I gonna do? Oh, Darkest Dungeon 2, right? So I'm not really like aware of what like the sentiment was from people who were playing this while it was in early access. I wasn't really part of the conversation of like how this game is different from the first game, both positively and negatively. This is all just kind of stuff that like I'm still trying to put words to now.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about this game. I don't really know why though. I'm not entirely sure that I get the scope of this game yet. And
I think I can maybe put that into words, at least based on my knowledge of the first game and my experiences with this one
please,
and the development. So, Darkest Dungeon 2 is them sort of taking like a lot of the stuff that people really dug about the first game, like like the visuals and the characters and like the fucking voice acting, like
Narrator,
all
yeah.
that stuff is still amazing here, right? But instead of making the kind of game which Darkest Dungeon was, which is a little bit weird and kind of hard to explain, they decided to make a more traditional roguelike. And that's what this game is. It is a roguelike. They took Darkest Dungeon 2, where like the progression that you were having outside of your dungeon runs, which were often a lot shorter and quicker, was very heavy. There was like a lot of progression from week
it
to
was
week.
like a
You had
management sim.
Yeah, it was like a management sim. Exactly. You had all these different characters, and it was all about kind of keeping them happy and keeping them sane and leveling them up. And you could lose a character, for good out in a dungeon, but that's fine because leveling up another, you know, highwayman or whatever is not doesn't take long, or you already had one leveling up or chilling at the
Right.
fucking church or whatever, right? So you would just throw him into like the next run that you go on. And the stuff you were bringing back felt significant. You were getting trinkets, and these trinkets were like permanent items that you put on your characters, and you could lose that stuff on a run, but it was really only in like a full wipe, and full wipes were kind of rare. Like the progression that you were building, these characters, these trinkets, all this stuff that was happening outside and in that town that you were leveling up, really was never put at true risk until you entered like the darkest dungeon. You had to really be kind of like boning up a boss battle and not knowing when to retreat to really have a full wipe. But the darkest dungeon was at the end of the game, the one where no matter what, like if shit goes bad, you're not coming back with much or anything at all. And that was really
Mhm.
scary. Like the darkest dungeon is why I never finished that first game, because I've never probably been more afraid of a video game thing in my life than sending my best guys out into the darkest dungeon. But that's a
Yeah.
very different type of game. Heavy progression. You had one game, one set of character, or one group of characters. Yeah, like a management sim. And this is a more traditional roguelike, Slay the Spire kind of thing, where pretty much all your action happens on that run. There is some light progression kind of between um, stuff that you do take back, win or lose, but that stuff is very slow. It's very grindy. It doesn't feel like Darkest Dungeon 1, where like a character was, you know, getting one or two levels every run or whatever. Like here it's you're getting these candles to get very incremental upgrades as you go. And they're doing that because I don't think they want your team to be overpowered based on like that sort of progression, meta progression, whatever you want to call it, right? It's all about what happens in that run. And that's why a lot of the unlocks like trinkets aren't just accessories that you have on your characters. You're just unlocking like the potential for them to show up in a run, which is a very traditional like rogue like, not a rogue light thing, right? Like they
Yeah.
they want your experience on a run to be unique to that run. And the problem that I'm having with it, maybe, I don't know, like I was saying before the show, I need to spend a lot more time with the game before I really have like useful opinions. But what I'm noticing is that you you have to put a lot into a run, and to get a little bit of reward, win or lose afterwards. And that's, I've seen roguelikes like that before, but because a run can be very lengthy, and because it can go bad so quickly, which is very like Darkest Dungeon, it feels like it kind of feels bad, right? It feels bad that you are an hour into a run and then you have a really bad fight and it spirals. The whole nature of Darkest Dungeon is this guy gets crit, everyone's freaking out. There's they're their sanity meters filling up, and then all of a sudden one dude snaps, right, and he goes, quote unquote, he crazy, he gets some negative perk, and now everybody else is freaking out, and you're setting off their sanity meters, and it spirals, it snowballs, and a run can go so bad so quickly. And it's like, well, I my run has felt so good up to this point, and now everything went bad, and maybe I'm not dead right away, but maybe I lost a character, and I feel like after that it just feels like, well, there's no way I'm going to be successful in this run now. It just feels bad, and it's only going to get worse. And I guess I could just back out of this run now, or I could just keep going until I die. But it doesn't. That's a very different feeling than like the kind of 10-minute runs or whatever that you did in the first Darkest Dungeon, where you're in and out, you got good tangible rewards, you leveled up some dudes, and management sim stuff was still happening outside of the dungeon from week to week to week. Like there was always something that felt good going on in Darkest Dungeon 1, even when shit was going bad. But elsewhere. And here, it's all about that single run, which feels like long, it feels like punishing, and it's just a different flow, it's a different loop, and it's not bad, because the things that are great about Darkest Dungeon are still great here, like the atmosphere, like the fucking narrator, the look of it. The battle system is still like a really cool battle system about, positioning of you and positioning of the enemy, like, and they give you a lot of information, and I like that they don't hide all that information, and it's strong. It's a strong combat system, but the flow outside of battle and like the whole run, it just feels very different. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's bad, but it's something that, and it is something I'm gonna have to spend a lot more time doing before I really sort of, like sometimes a roguelike just sucks early on. It just
Yeah.
sucks early on, and this could be one of those where I'm laugh at my opinions that I'm making now. But I'm gonna need more time
Well,
to
and
find
that's what
out.
I'm talking about. Is like I don't even know what the scope of this thing is yet. Like, I haven't been reading about it. I haven't really been following what other people are doing with it. I don't know anything about the game other than up to what I've played, right? And I've made it as far as like the mountain. I don't even know if that's like the end of the run or the end of like the area I'm in. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how much farther this goes. And that, like you said, that's something that's just like I have to keep playing to kind of like really see this thing unfold and figure out what's going on. I will say that like I do really love the presentation. Like
Oh yeah,
the the visual upgrade, like this whole like 3D modeled like animated thing is really cool. I
it's
love seeing
beautiful.
it in action. Even the little touches of like when you go to an inn and you rest and you're like in the inn room doing all your like light management stuff, and then you have that embark button that like puts them on a screen where they're like looking ahead to the
Yeah,
next
it's
area. Like that
beautiful.
stuff's really cool, and I do really enjoy that. I do also feel like everything that I like about this game and everything that is kind of nice or good or like quality about this game is kind of in tension with what the game used to be. Like this idea that like people became so, people loved like the character models and the archetypes of the characters from one so much that there was this impulse to completely change the tone and the nature of the game to make those characters like more realized characters. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
they have like default names now. They all have there's
yeah,
actually they have stories. There are
and that
stops
stuff
that
is
you make
good.
along the way.
That stuff is
It's
good.
amazing. It's amazing. Like the hero shrines that you find along the way, which you pick one of your heroes in your party and it advances their story to the next level, and each one has like five chapters to their story, and it kind of is just like
They have little gimmick battles.
they have little like puzzle battles, little like gimmicky things. That's really cool, although
That's
not
interesting.
always. I think
Sometimes it could be a bit of a
I
slog.
I recorded 2 of these videos, and I think in the other one I actually finished the story for the grave robber. And the last chapter was really anticlimactic because it's like 5 chapters, and like at least 2 of those are just that like screen of the character art with the narrator saying something, and then you move on. And then I didn't know, like, nothing happened when I finished her story. There was no kind of like I got a couple more abilities for her, which you get them after every one of those story moments. But then it didn't like say anything. It wasn't like, oh hey, you know, like, congratulations, you finished. Yeah, it didn't have. There was nothing to finishing it. You know what I mean? So
There
that
might be more there.
right
maybe.
after that, well, that's the thing. Right after that, I went to another hero shrine, and then I was like, okay, what happens if I pick the grave robber again? And I picked her, and all it did was like give me some bonus to my torch and set me on my way. And I was like, oh, that's it? I'm already done with that character? Like, I'm already just done with all the story content that deals with that character. So now I gotta go do it for the other 12 or whatever characters that are in the game. It's a little weird. And it hangs in this ambiguous space that I think a lot of this game hangs in, where, you know, I do really like these characters, and I like these archetypes that they crafted. I don't think that they have expanded them into fully realized characters as much as maybe I would have liked to, but in the effort to do that, they have completely changed the game. Because if you are assuming that these are like characters that ostensibly have like stories to them, and you want to explore those stories with any sort of like consistency or continuity, like, you kind of have to do away with this idea that you just have like a massive stable of like these people and they're completely expendable to a certain extent, you know? And that's what the first game was. It was like there was kind of a cool thing of like having this whole town of like adventurers and mercenaries that you're just like sending off into these dungeons, and you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to see them again. Not a big deal if I do, right? And here, like you were saying, it feels more, it feels like they're supposed to be a little more precious, but there is also the fact that like wipes are way more common, it seems like, and you still respawn them all anyway. Like, I don't think the themes, I don't think that the vibe of this game is as clear or as well thought out as the first game, honestly. And
Yeah.
I again, and I can't even really like, it's just everything about it, like everything about it feels obfuscated, feels like kind of blurred, like from, you know, my sense of what the game is, my sense of like what progression means in this game. I've invested over 100 candles now into various upgrades, and the game still feels like the exact same game to me. I don't really understand, except I've unlocked a couple extra characters,
Because
which which at the same time don't feel any different, don't feel that different from the characters I'm already using, but do feel like weak. I don't know. Like differences are usually clearer in the negative than they are in the positive. Um, I don't feel like that the mental conditioning stuff means as much anymore. But then again, that could just be because I don't really understand what the fuck is going on. Like, and I don't know. Like, at a
there's a
certain
lot
point,
of
maybe it's just me.
mechanics. There's a lot of mechanics like that they throw at you, and let
I
me tell
have
you,
changed the character titles. That's the thing. They have this new thing now where it's like you basically have subclasses for the characters. That as you level them up, you unlock these new titles, and these titles change how the character's supposed to play, right? Like it'll say like, oh, you know, you can't crit anymore, but now your ranged attacks do 30% extra damage or something like that, right? And they're all essentially archetypes that like these different characters can fulfill. So for instance, the Plague Doctor or whatever that one is called, will have ones like they'll have one called Alchemist, which makes them a better range debuffer in combat, or they'll have like Field Surgeon, which makes them better at healing teammates. And I have played around with that, and to be honest, like I don't know what it's doing for me. I don't really feel it's that different, and the default mode for each of those characters has no alteration to their stats or abilities whatsoever, and it just makes it so that you earn an extra candle whenever you get to ends with that character. And at this point, I'm so desperate for progress that feels way more potent than any sort of tinkering around with like their stats has. And I don't know, like this conversation is taking like a negative tone, and I'm really kind of just like trying to figure out my thoughts while I'm talking about it.
Well,
See,
let me ask you this.
or have been where like everybody was. I feel like during the early access, this is why I didn't bid on this game, because some people just seemed like they weren't having a good time, and I don't know. I'm kind of with you on a lot
I
of that
don't think
stuff, but
it's a
at the
bad
same
game.
time, I am having a good time. It is very addictive.
I do not think that it's a bad game. I can definitely see people sinking their teeth into this and having fun. I don't think this is necessarily the game I wanted when I paid for it. I don't think this doesn't feel like Darkest Dungeon felt important. You know, like there was some electricity to it when you were playing it of like, oh wow, this is crazy. This is new. This is something I haven't experienced before. And this does not feel like that. I mean, of course, it's not going to feel as new or novel because it's a sequel, but like, I don't really like the problem is that like I don't feel the drama. I don't feel the like the soft esoteric side of it. I just feel the crunch. And I don't like the crunch. Like you know, we were talking about this being a more traditional roguelike, and I think of things like FTL where it's like, man, going into an encounter in FTL that was a social encounter instead of a combat encounter felt completely dramatic. And it was just like words on a screen that's like, this happens, what do you do to react?
Yeah.
That felt so much more important, so much more dramatic. It felt like the beat in a story that I was helping to craft. In this one, it's like you find a caravan of poor people. What do you want to do? Do you want to get extra supplies, or do you want to get like a repair for your cart? There's no real exchange of dialogue. There's no story. There's no like understanding of like what's going on. Honestly, like when I meet these people, like the civilians that like you get aid from or whatever, I do not understand if I'm helping them or if they're helping me, or like there's no like moral axiom to like anything that's happening with my interaction with them, so like my choices don't really matter. So it's like if the highwayman's like, hey, we should steal the stuff that they have, and you know somebody else is like, hey, we should help them out by giving them the relics that we have, and they'll give us the stuff. It doesn't feel any
frustrating
different.
because
It
I've
doesn't
seen
feel
this
like
sort of
anything has
thing.
happened.
I've seen this sort of thing like done so much better. And like you said, FTL, I could think of like Banner Saga has like really potent like narrative moments and decisions and stuff that like really stick with you. And I feel like this game this is more about like team composition and really getting into the battles and really coming up with strategy and tactics, and it has the presentation of something that should be like more interesting in terms of story or like any sort of like cool narrative stuff, and it doesn't really have that. It's presentation and it's like crunch.
Yeah. And
But I mean
if
that's is
the
honestly
combat if the combat is what you were going to the first one for, and like that was it, and you were like very much invested in the crunch of the combat of the first game and not really in the management side of it, this game probably hits pretty well with you.
Ooh,
but
Lemur Dragon brings up a good one in chat.
What?
Wildermyth. Well, you played Wildermyth, right?
I played a bunch of Wildermyth.
Yeah, Wildermyth definitely.
Wildermyth has that mix though. Like when narrative things are happening, like you make a decision in Wildermyth and it's like your character loses an eye forever, and then we jump 10 years ahead to see what their life has been like. It feels impactful. It feels like, whoa, this is like a real story. And like good beats and bad beats both are compelling. Here, bad beats feel like I just don't understand what the numbers mean. You know, like bad beats feel like
Yeah.
nothing, and good beats don't exist. So like I don't know what.
Can I get
I don't know
Wildermyth?
what's going on.
I want Wildermyth that looks like Darkest Dungeon.
Yes,
Gonna be...
yes, that would be so sick. That would be so sick. Or like, yeah.
So from an outsider's perspective, looking in, who's never played the first game, hasn't played the second game yet. So like, how is the narrative told?
There is no narrative. There's like before you start a run, there have been like these little cutscenes of like the narrator talking to you, kind of recapping your character's history with the narrator, where like the narrator was a professor at a university, you were one of their students, you two formed a bond, a friendship, and you started delving into the occult, and like that's it. That's all I've gotten so far.
It's like it's a roguelike. It's like Slay the Spire. I mean, there's
each
text
run
on the screen, but it doesn't matter.
But like a run doesn't really have a narrative. Like when I go from the crossroads, the first inn to the second inn to the mountain, like I can't like turn around and present. Yeah, I mean, Dead. I don't even want to say that about Dead Cells, but like, yeah, it feels a little hollow in terms of like any sort of fantasy, any sort of like story or presentation. Like it feels like.
But what
Flash and Crunch.
What you're saying is like, I mean, I'd say the first game was sort of lacking that too, but like it had such more confidence with that.
I don't think the first game had
a management sim sort of thing outside that you were building the narrative through those.
Exactly. It was more
and like
emergent.
that Darkest Dungeon looming was such a potent thing, and it was completely like systemic. I don't know.
I mean, the reason why
I agree. I think that the first game did not necessarily have like a stronger narrative arc to it that was like a predetermined. Like I don't think that there is like a strong narrative voice in the first game, but there is a strong like emergent storytelling that happens from playing the game. You feel like you have a place in that story. You feel like your actions are kind of like affecting this little world that you're building, that you're like managing, that you're in control of. And you know, like I don't know, man. Like it is strange.
Oh, such a visually like everything here. Like the fucking presentation and the art here is so good. Like just the visual of like the horse and carriage like screaming through like the streets on fire is just
it's great. It's an excellent aesthetic.
I mean, and like I don't even care about like the superficial aesthetic changes of like this doesn't take place in a dungeon anymore. You're in a carriage on a road or anything like that. Because I mean, I've seen that a couple times now. But like. Whatever, like who cares? Like I just wish that like I don't know, like I've seen Jaeger playing this, and like I assume he's really into it. It seems like he's enjoying it, and he's been playing it kind of like what we did with XCOM back in the day, where he's like changing the names of the characters to fit like people like us, you know? Like people from the 4-player community. And I feel like this doesn't even really have that. Here. Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like it does in. It doesn't work like it does in the first game. It doesn't work like it does in XCOM. There is no emergent story to tell. Like
you were getting so many more like positive and negative like perks. I feel like in that first game. Well, I guess you get them here too, but because
you get a lot of them
disposable, it doesn't matter. Like the characters don't stick around. They're just there for that run. As far as like those sort of like positive and negative perks.
Well, like remember how in the first game too, like you would encounter stuff, right? You would encounter obstacles. And there was a lot of like risk versus reward with interacting. There was a lot of risk versus reward with interacting and making those choices. And some of the positive and negative effects that like your characters would get would be like ones where they just like take control of situations away from you and like make decisions and like maybe just like fuck you over because they decided to do something in the moment. Like I don't think that's how. I have not seen anything like that happen in this game yet. And I
I've
don't
seen
think
those
that's how it
perks, but
works.
I don't see
I
the stuff
think
happening.
I think what it does is it just changes their possible selection when you get those like social selection screens where it's like
Oh,
everybody has something to say and has a possible outcome based on what they say, but you are still in control of picking which one you go with.
yeah,
And
that's not
if
nearly as
that's the
cool.
case, that is lame as
That is
fuck.
lame. Yeah, that's not like, yeah. I don't know. I feel bad because the developer really tried to do something different, and I really applaud that.
That's yeah. I mean, I don't think they've necessarily failed to make a good game. I just don't know that I don't know that it's for me per se.
I can't answer that question yet because I bet there's so much more. This has been early access a long time, and I bet there's a lot that I don't know. Like for a long time, I didn't know, and I was asking Prince. I was like, "Well, what happened? Like, is this the type of game where you beat one chapter and you unlock the second chapter, and you can go straight to the second chapter, but it's actually is smarter just to continue from with that like start the whole game over and do a long run and which is frustrating for me because then at that point it would be too long and too punishing to do something so long.
I
But
want to
then
address.
but what he told me is that even every chapter, once you beat the first boss and you beat that first chapter, you can just pick the second chapter, and you can't even go from chapter 1 to chapter 2 to chapter 3. Like they're
Dude,
once you unlock them, they're just separate things that they're always going to be a fresh run
oh
into
my
one of those
god, you're
chapters.
actually kind of blowing my mind because I completely forgot that there
Yeah.
is a chapter select.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. I guess the boss I was getting to was the end of chapter
Chapter 1.
one,
Yeah.
which wow, okay. And I do want to address something Mr. Popshot in chat is talking about the affinity system. We haven't really said anything about it, because I'm not even really certain I know what
I
the
don't
affinity system
I don't
is. I
understand.
think what he's talking about is that system where your characters develop relationships with one another,
Yeah.
and how they, the affinity that they build between them affects how they perform together. And there's a lot of stuff that affects that. A lot of like what you do in combat affects that affinity system. Like if a character melts down
Mm.
instead of like, has like reaches their max stress and like has a little meltdown, like that can negatively affect their relationship with other characters. The choices that you make in those social encounters, each choice is represented by a character, represented by what they want to do, and that choice affects how their affinity with other characters work. To be honest, in the 7 hours or so that I played, hasn't come up much. Came up once in a run where my plague doctor character and my sergeant, like the burly one-eyed sergeant guy, uh, became resentful of one another, and it made the run harder because I couldn't use anytime I used the doctor to heal that frontline fighter, it also weakened him. Like it also like made his attacks weaker because
God,
they just fucking hate each other. So I guess like they
that's
hurt
not
each
fun.
other. Yeah, and I, that's really as much exposure to that system as I've had. I assume it's much more nuanced and deeper than that, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet, so I can't really comment on it. But like, fuck, man, I don't know. Like,
Can I also say that one of the things that has been I've really been struggling with understanding kind of everything and really having a hard time really understanding the not just how the systems work, but like what are they trying getting at here with these systems is that I every second I've played of this game has been on Steam Deck, and because that's how I play my PC games these days. And let me tell you, playability has been fine, but the UI is way too small. And I can't believe such a high profile indie game first one did crazy numbers. This is a high profile indie game that has been in development for or it was in development for a long time, but it was in early access for a long time. Does not launch in 1.0 with some sort of like UI options for Steam Deck is a big deal. Like people really care about Steam Deck, and they
Yeah.
care about indie games on PC because they have Steam Decks. To not think that people would be wanting to play this type of game on their Steam Deck is crazy. How does the developer not have these options ready for 1.0? Like I hate it. Like it's made it really tough for me to understand because there's like these little fucking icons everywhere, and sometimes I'm I'm struggling with the UI. Like, how do I find out what the fuck this does? I just need like a glossary or something. There's some things I still don't even really understand what they are, and part of that reason is because everything is so tiny, and I can't believe that this shit wasn't ready to go for release, and I've found that really
If you go to
frustrating.
the store page on Steam, it doesn't even list any information about the Steam Deck. So maybe
How
they
are
just
games shipping like that? How are it like high profile indie games shipping like that? Where like games have had big successful indie games under their belt.
yeah.
How do they not hit release, especially coming out of early access
Well, when you
on
only have a
top of this
team of like
shit?
15 people working on a game,
I,
like sometimes you
but
just got to
but
prioritize things.
how many Steam Decks are out there now? Like they have to care about stuff like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, surely they do, but like again, when you have a small development team, you prioritize what you can and then you just work on that later on. Like Red Hook, from what I understand, what I'm reading here on their Steam page is that they have plans for post-launch support where there's going to be a lot of cute quality of life updates and new content.
A lot of
Fuck
cute
new
what?
content. I can barely play the game. Like they have to care about playability, especially when they release their fucking game the same week as Zelda.
I'm sure they care, but like they got to get their game out and they got to have that a lot of more people playing it so they can fix a lot of shit. Like I'm not making excuses for them, but it seems realistic to me that a team of 15 people may not have had as much time and resources available to them to work on a Steam Deck version.
It's not a Steam Deck version. It's just a UI scaling option.
It's
That's
more
it.
than just that, though. It's more than just UI scaling. It's optimization too. You cannot forget
It's
that.
been in early access. They've been selling
Yes.
the game for 2 years or whatever,
Yes.
like
Came
or a
out in
year and a
October
half.
2021 in early access and launched in May. 20 months.
And how long has the Steam Deck been out?
A little over a year and a half at this point.
Steam Deck's not a priority. Okay, listen, Sanji. First of all, Steam Deck aside, I'm sure the game is going to come to consoles and Switch and stuff. There's no reason that that UI scaling has to be such a low fucking priority. People need to be able to see the little fucking words.
I don't think it's a low priority. I just think that they probably just prioritized just getting the game out.
Yeah, well, the game's out and I'm trying to play it, and they're making it very hard. They're making me want to put it down. They're making me want to. Honestly, I thought about refunding the fucking game and coming back to it later.
I mean,
It's
you
very
certainly
frustrating.
can do that. I mean, and Zelda
Of course I
launches
can.
in 51 minutes, so like
Yeah.
they probably didn't expect a whole lot of people to actually be playing.
So let's move
this.
on then, because Zelda launches in 51 minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I'm gonna be putting this game down for weeks and weeks now.
You're right.
Because
Let's talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
y'all both finished it.
I finished it.
Yes. And you know what?
Okay. Well,
This is a pretty good
since I
That's
have
pretty
not
cool.
talked about
Pretty
this
cool.
game because I was not on the podcast last week, but I have started it. I am on.
Look where you are. I hate this
Kobo.
fucking game. Kobo?
Why does everybody use the white lightsabers? It's
I
like
don't know.
that's the most
I asked
boring
that.
color.
I asked that, and people are like acting like I'm fucking crazy. Like,
I mean, that's the most boring color of light.
everyone's hope for Ahsoka, I guess, because
I mean,
Ahsoka uses white lightsabers.
I was using orange at first just because I'm like, I'm the ginger Jedi or whatever. I just thought it was funny.
I mean,
But then
to
I
be
realized
clear,
that
this is footage from last week by Nick.
like something like depending on my environment, like where I'm at now, like green pops so much better than a lot of the other colors.
Yeah.
So that's just what I'm using. But
I use cyan throughout most of the game, and it's pretty cool. But there are some areas where it just looks white and whatever. But
can I wait? But I want to say I want my sort of first impressions. I'm not super far in the game, and I want to say like I haven't been like hanging out in the Jedi Survivor channel in our Discord because I feel like
oh, come on.
no, I feel like
Stop it.
I feel like people. I don't know if it's just about Star Wars or maybe just about this game, but like you come up with a little like slightly
When has that happened?
negative. People want to bully you.
Oh,
It's like
shut
people
up.
love this fucking game. Y'all were it was a jerk fest last week, and
Because
and
we're all
that's
having
fi-
fun. We
I
enjoy
know,
it.
Yeah.
and that's why I
And
started
it was
playing the
not a jerk
game.
fest. I definitely
You brought up a good
said
point.
some things
You
that
brought
Oh
up
yeah,
one
we
good
had
point, I should
comments.
say, as far as on the negative side that I do kind of echo, and I'll mention that in a second. But I just want to say, like, even before I get into like the nitty gritty of the game, I played this game like probably 3 different nights. When you're and just doing like Coruscant stuff, and I now granted I'm an older man. I have very long work days. I have children. I fell asleep like, like for like 30, 45 minutes in, like every single night I was trying to get through that stuff. I found the Coruscant shit like super boring. And I was like, okay, let me just get the fuck out of here, get to that planet. People say Kobol or whatever the fuck. It's like very
Hobo.
open and stuff. And I'm going to be so much more into it. And it's finally going to click. And I got there and I'm just sort of running down these paths. And I'm like, I thought this shit was supposed to be a lot more open, but it still feels very pathy and whatnot. I know there's shortcuts, but it feels pathy, and I start to get really bored again. And my question for you is, what can I push through to, like, when will the hooks really, when will this game really hook me, and should I push through to that moment? Some people tell me it's like movement abilities or whatnot, but so like the one negative thing you mentioned last week, which wasn't even really a negative, you admitted, but it is something I kind of agree with, is that they give you all these cool like movement abilities and everything, but like the way you use them feels like very kind of like prescribed. Like it's there's this, I have these abilities. Now I have this sequence. Well, there's one way to do this sequence. Now I got to do it. And I'm not really like doing cool things with my movement abilities to get around the world. I'm just doing like the little pathy, scripted or prescribed stuff that they set up for me. And that's fine, but it's also not really challenging. It's just sort of hit this button, and this button, time it right. And then I went through it, and it's, well, double jumps are cool, but if this is really what they're for, then that's not as exciting as what I thought it was going to be originally. Um,
Well, so they do
and
give
you
you
did
a
kind of mention something like that, Crispy, last week, and that is
Yeah.
something I sort of agree with. But it's also something I could see like getting better later. And I know there's like platforming like challenge rooms, and I want to get to that stuff. But I'm saying I've been a little bored. And the story seems like it has potential, but it's definitely not getting started. Not getting started yet, and I'm kind of waiting for it to get started. And I know that stuff's going to be good, but gameplay wise, it's been very boring. Like, this reminds me of kind of early on in like the God of War games, the recent God of War games I play, where it's like, well, I see like the money here, I see the craft here, I see like they made a lot of smart choices, and I see why like fucking Nick is jerking off playing this game. But like, why am I bored? When am I riding a chocobo like you are? And when I get that, is it even that fun? I don't know.
it's
And so maybe some of this, because like Star Wars hype is not carrying me through to like the next exciting story moment, or like the lightsaber combat is not as fun as, like, I don't know, Neo's combat or whatever. But I'm telling you, I've been falling asleep playing this game, and I don't want to. I know y'all love it, and I think I'll get there eventually. I just think,
Well,
so I would say that the first quest line of Kobo is it still feels a tad linear in what it's trying to get you to do. But
yeah,
in my opinion, it really starts to open up once you get your first brand new movement ability. Uh,
which is
well, you get to interact with mounts is one of them. Like what is
okay.
happening in the footage here is that
Yeah,
you've got
this
this
looks
like
cool.
bat creature that you can glide around with, and that becomes a mechanic for getting around a lot of the map faster, but also like getting to access a lot more higher level areas.
I mean, that looks cool. But like what Crispy said about the grappling hook, like grappling hooks, when done well, are some of the most exciting video game mechanics. Look at even
right.
like Halo Infinite, right?
Yeah,
But here the grappling hook is nothing. It's just another jump, like at a very prescribed point, and that's never fun. I
Well,
mean, it's
it also upgrades later
yeah.
to have a little like not up to the level that you're talking about, but it's a little more open, and there's a little more um maybe puzzliness with the platforming.
mm,
I would say so. Listen, I get that like the story hasn't really gotten going for you, and like you're saying, maybe the Star Wars hype isn't carrying you through the way it was carrying me through, because I mean I was really zipped in from moment one. I really liked the Coruscant section, just story wise. I liked the vibe of the game. I liked a lot of stuff like the lightsaber combat, I do really enjoy, and I do really think is impassioned. I didn't really play that much Neo, so I don't. So
Well,
maybe
okay, it doesn't have to be fucking
I know,
Neo.
I know, I know. It's not a.
It hasn't been very challenging.
What I
Or
will say, I think the stuff that you will like about this game, I think the stuff that you will enjoy, um, is coming up. So, just based on like the story chapters of where you must be, I think you're like in the first third of chapter 2.
Yeah.
Like you got to Pyloon's Saloon, and huh?
Maybe not even that yet.
Okay. So yeah, you're still kind of like in the early part. So there's
Yeah.
there's 6 chapters, and each one's broken into like 3 or 4 broad objectives. And pretty soon it stops being super prescriptive about how you have to complete those objectives, or like how long it should take you to complete those objectives. I will say that like you definitely like the story hasn't really started yet. It is still like in that recap phase where it's like, okay, it's been 5 years. What have the characters that we do know been up to?
Yeah.
Which your mileage may vary as far as like how much that engages you. And what's going on with like new additions to the cast, like what's up with this Bode guy, like who is he? And I really like that. I really think that like the story elements, like the human elements of the game, are really engaging to me. I'm invested in these characters, maybe more so than you might be, and that's completely understandable.
But like the Coruscant stuff is they have all these characters, and then they just start like dying, and it's like, am I supposed to care about these characters because I don't even know who they are?
Cared because I was excited. I cared because I was like, oh cool, Cal's got new friends, and then yeah, like okay, sick. Whatever. But that again, your mileage may vary there. You are into a phase though where it is going to start trying to open up for you after you go to the saloon and you start kind of like getting settled into that area as being your main hub, is when the wider region surrounding it starts opening up.
Yes.
And later in the game, like I did a lot of my playtime later in the game was spent exploring, running around, and not doing story stuff. I mean, like entire multi-hour play sessions devoted to just kind of like going around and picking up stuff that I hadn't picked up, or like backtracking through areas that like I couldn't get to before, but now I have the movement ability to do it, that kind of thing. And a lot of that was mostly just driven by a fear of like blowing through the story. So I don't know. Again,
I mean that's cool.
Your mileage may vary.
I'll say this though, like y'all both finished the game, and that's cool, and you're about to give y'all's thoughts on that. But I'll say like I feel like I'm about to get Horizon tier now that Zelda's out, and like coming back to this game after I play Zelda is gonna feel like, dude, we're living in a post Tears of the Kingdom world.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like
And this shit feels old.
I was very like I'm the guy who's gonna give this game every benefit of the doubt because I love Star Wars and I really love the first game and I really love this game, right? But even I was like, dude, once Zelda comes out, it's over, right? Like I need to finish this before Zelda.
I was the exact same way. Like I'm going to give Respawn every chance possible to impress me, but it's got to be done really quickly. So,
you do want to progress a little bit. There are some upgrades that you don't have yet that will make the areas like you kind of get into this like again, I don't think this game is just a straight up Metroidvania, but it does have that element to it. Like there is some of that going on, right?
That gated ability progression access, yeah.
Right. I think maybe a little more so than God of War, but I also wasn't super impressed by God of War. I do think like there is more of like a loop of like, oh shit, well now I can go through those green force fields. Well, I saw one of those green force fields on Coruscant. I should go back and check out what was behind that. Like things like that, right?
Yes.
There is a little bit of that going on.
They're pretty strong on teasing places that you can't go, but you can tell the items and elements that you're going to interact with that will get you to that next area.
I do think if you play for like another couple hours, it'll start making a little more sense. Whether or not you want to invest that time, especially now here, 2 hours before
Is it
Zelda
weird?
comes out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it weird that this just sort of makes me want to play Recore? Maybe any Star
Well,
Wars game makes me
and
want to
it's
play Recore.
funny that you say that too, because I do think that like a lot of the platforming challenge, like a lot of the actual like platforming puzzling that happens later on in the game, like from mid to end of the game, is really fucking good. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I was actually in an area just going like, uh, okay, what am I supposed to do here? You know, like
Yes.
trying to figure out the chain of event, like, and there may be a pretty prescriptive combination of things you have to do to get through it, but it is like figuring out what that's supposed to look like and executing it is, you know, I mean, it's almost like, you know, it's like doing those platforming challenges like in Guacamelee or something, you know,
I mean, no,
like,
yeah.
and that stuff is really fun and rewarding. And another thing that I really like is that there's a good mix between like useful mechanical rewards and like cosmetic rewards. And I'm the kind of person who absolutely loves cosmetic rewards. And I think that the cosmetic rewards in this game are spectacular.
There are
so
just a ton of them.
That was a real motivating factor for me. If you are less so motivated by that, then maybe you're not going to feel
I
the way
mean, I
that I
found a
do.
mullet,
But
and that got me really excited.
yeah,
In a
yeah.
chest.
Dude, just
Sweet.
wait till you start finding like more
Choice.
70s hairdos and
How do people
mustaches.
like Nick and Chris Davis feel about stuff like that? Which is so like there is no reason that there should be a mullet in a chest here. This is absurd. You know, like Nick, who refuses to like do teleport, you know, walking in like Half-Life Alyx because it feels out of lore or
I
whatever.
would
You know?
argue that a mullet is very much in lore for Star Wars.
Oh, it absolutely
that
is.
Chest?
Most
No,
human
not
male.
the hairstyle. Finding a haircut in a chest.
Oh, whatever. Like maybe he found a magazine that had a picture of a guy.
Yeah,
with a
maybe.
mullet.
I
Well,
don't
you know
know.
what? Like, if it was a magazine, then I feel like people like Chris Davis would be like, "Oh wow, this game just went up a whole point for me," right? Because
Like,
they explained the haircuts.
No, that's not my thinking about it. I mentioned last week that I wasn't a fan of some of the facial hair and hair designs of the game because I just don't think anything that I've seen looks better than the default character model.
I think it's great. I think it's great because I love the idea that canonically, if you look at like human males in Star Wars, most of them look like dudes from the 70s.
Yeah.
Like mustaches and sideburns and like big feathery hairdos are like very common amongst humans in Star
I
Wars.
know.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I personally have always enjoyed that, and I love it when new characters come along and they're like, yeah, let's just make him look like some dude who would own a fucking Gran Torino in 1974. Like,
Yeah.
so sick, so sick. Like, I, but yeah, I don't know. Like again, your mileage may vary.
And
It's
I
really
also
kind
I
of
also
subjective.
I also want to suggest to you, Brad, that I know you're hesitant about the platforming, even though we can verify for you, we can vouch for it that there's some really fun and entertaining sequences of platforming in
No,
this game.
I've seen them like on Twitter. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I'm excited about that.
Well, they're
stuff.
coming. They're coming.
Yeah, they're
Like,
coming.
for sure.
You will get to them eventually. But what I was going to tell you is that the visual language of platforming in this game feels much more in world and not, player driven in trying to telegraph what it is. Like the like an Uncharted, yellow paint on everything for where you can traverse.
Yeah.
You really don't have that in this game. You can
Well,
tell
I mean, there are
areas.
stuff.
No,
Yeah,
there
I know
definitely
what
is.
you're
There
saying.
definitely is, but it's not as nearly as egregious, is what I'm saying.
It is like there.
I mean, it ain't
it
Breath of the Wild.
it does ride this line. Yeah, it's not Breath of the Wild where you can just climb on anything.
Yeah.
It is less egregious, and there is a subtlety to it that like I think is both a strength and a weakness. It doesn't look as ridiculous as like something like Uncharted might do, where it's just like a bright neon yellow indicator of like, hey,
Or
climb
God
here.
of War.
But then also once you've like trained yourself to know what to look for like on Kobo, and then you go into a level that takes place like on an Imperial facility, and the whole tile set is changed, and you don't know what like the climbable surface
Yeah, but you're just looking
in
for that
Imperial
tile
Wall.
set's equivalent.
Yeah,
Like
but
it
like
was
there
the
have been
grate on
times where like
Coruscant, but in
there
Kobo
have
it's
been
the vine.
times where that distinction is like really muddy, and like I got stuck because I just didn't know like what wall I was supposed to be climbing, and like had to kind of just figure it out. Um, I don't think that's a huge problem in this game, but it is something that feels germane to that idea of like more tasteful environmental signaling for mechanics for the player.
As someone who didn't finish the first game and kind of just instead watched
A movie.
like a movie, or no, not even a movie, just like a couple of like
Yeah.
videos to kind of sum up the story. Like this Cal Kestis guy has he's almost like, so far where I'm in the game, which is very early, he has like done nothing. I don't know if they're writing on your knowledge of everything he's done the previous game, but like he's barely even like said anything, emoted. He's not even really made a face. He's just been there. And I'm like, I'm ready for the story to start and him to start being a character, because he's done nothing yet. He's just been a guy, just barely there. I mean,
I
he's done cool like I'm gonna cut
all I
this
can
fool.
say, all I can really say there is I don't want to spoil the story for you. I do think the story is one of the strongest aspects of the game.
Yeah, I
I was
believe it.
very, and I think that Cal specifically is a very strong aspect of that story. I can see what you're saying,
Ready for the art to start.
but it is, yeah. So like again, like I said, I think you're in chapter 2 right now. When you get to the end of chapter 2 is when you actually are introduced to the conflict that this game is about.
Yes.
Good.
Um, so that's coming up, and once that starts to like unfold, I think things will make a little more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is this game? Is this like a 10 out of 10 for y'all? Like really?
Honestly,
it's a solid 8 at least.
An 8 at least. That means nothing to me. I don't want an
I
8.
I think
I want this
I would give it a 9, but you know that I love Star Wars, so maybe my score's a little inflated. I
So
definitely think this is top 5 for me this year.
no, this is definitely a top 10 game easily, I think.
Okay, but you're again 8 top 10. You're not saying much by
let,
saying
let me
that.
let me give you a frame of reference here. So this is, I think, the best Star Wars game that has come out since Disney took over Star Wars.
Okay.
Because my problem with every single Disney Star Wars game that has come out that has a single player or a narrative is that it is so, and this might be incendiary, it is so up its own ass about being true and being canon that none of these games do anything narratively interesting, really, that has an impact on this overall storyline, because it has to be canon and it cannot interfere with
Sure,
the
but like,
core
yeah,
narrative of
you're
this
right.
franchise.
This is the only
But
Star Wars games that have come out since the Disney thing, but that have even really tried, like, put in a real effort to like tell a
Yeah.
story and get
yes,
characters. I
yes.
mean, of course, it's the
But
best one.
And
what
and that also I think is maybe a problem with the franchise itself,
yeah.
especially following the reaction of certain movies.
But what I'm saying is that even Fallen Order, like, it was falling over itself to like say, hey, this is an interstitial story that doesn't actually impact the core thing. So you know from the start that whatever these characters do at the end of the game is going to have little consequence, if any consequence.
Yeah,
To
but I don't care about that. I
but
don't.
but what I'm saying is
I
that this game's story is so entertaining to me that I forgive it. I forgive this game for having that narrative constraint, but it does it so well that I can't help but really enjoy it and
I
let it
think
go for that.
I think this game's story does have some really interesting implications that if anybody else creating stories in Star Wars wanted to pick up, I mean, would be an interesting new aspect to Star Wars canon. If that matters to anybody, I don't know that it
Yeah.
does.
Like they introduce concepts and have fun with the story in this. Like, sure, in Fallen Order they introduce the Night Sisters and that whole other aspect of the Force, which is actually the first genuinely interesting thing in Star Wars, I think, since the '90s, or hell, the original trilogy, in my opinion. But like they take the natural progression of that and they expand it out and say, okay, what else happens with this? What do you do with this? And the result is a lot of very fun story sequences, a lot of interesting character dynamics and interaction, and this overarching storyline of a game that does well to complement the ending of Fallen Order, but also sets up really interesting stuff for what they could do with a conclusion to this trilogy. Like, it feels really
I agree
good.
that like I really enjoyed the story, and by the time I finished it, I was very much like buzzing of like, ooh, are they gonna make story DLC for this? Are they gonna do a sequel to this? Like,
Yeah.
ooh, I hope so. I genuinely had a good time with it. Again, Brad, I think that like your investment is gonna come at the end of the chapter that you're currently on, if it comes, and that once you start getting to that point in the game is when you're going to start seeing more interesting gameplay puzzle mechanics that
Yeah,
I
also
think
want to
might
just meet
carry you
some
through.
interesting characters because there's kind of been
I
nothing yet.
mean, you haven't been to the saloon yet, have you?
Yeah,
No.
you
Oh,
don't
see, come on. That's what I'm talking about. The whole game is like meeting fun little dudes and then like
Yeah.
taking them back to your saloon and
you're
like
building out a little.
having your dudes that you go talk to, and there's like
I
the
mean,
weird little
yeah.
frog dude that's like kind of an idiot, and you're like, hey Turgle, you're a fucking
Yeah.
dummy, and
Yeah,
he's like,
I mean,
I know. And then there's like the dude who is like a fucking like a fucking smuggler, like rich pompous asshole, and you're like, what's your story? And then there's like the dude that makes music, and there's the dude that does,
then-
and
I'll
it's
just
fun,
admit
and
that the
it's
first few hours of
fun.
this game
And
are
then-
kind of
and-
dull.
And then
I know,
the character of the year, Scuba
know.
Stev.
I
Character of
heard,
the year.
look, I
easily.
listened to last week's
Yeah.
podcast. I know all about these fucking characters.
Yes.
Look,
Okay.
I believe you. I get it. You don't need to sell me on it anymore. I was just explaining
Well,
my
I
experience.
fucking will.
You
I
should.
think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that I I would certainly not blame you for falling off this game at this point because of Zelda.
I finished God of
but-
War Ragnarok and I regret it.
Well, there you go. I don't think you'd regret finishing this game. I don't think
I
you
believe
would.
that. I believe that.
Yeah. Like, also, not to put too fine a point on it, but there is a optional subquest line that pops up like starting in chapter 2. And in fact, Nick kind of set up the anchor point for that. And it provides you an opportunity to go back and explore areas you've already done, and they partially redo those areas to make them more interesting navigation challenges.
Okay.
Yeah, especially like the last like 3 or 4 of those, like you revisit areas that logically you have no reason to ever go back to. But when you go back to them, they are not only much more challenging, but also the navigation aspect is, I think, more interesting.
Brad, come on, man. Brad, it's a fun game, Brad. Come on.
It's a fun game,
It's
man.
cool. It's a
I
fun
believe
game,
you.
Brad.
It's somewhat hurt
Brad!
a little bit about. Stop it! I don't care
It's fun.
about. It's somewhat hurt about by the fact that Malia doesn't care about Star Wars. So like when I'm playing it in front of her, she's like, I don't care about any of this. This is stupid. Which she can watch me play God of War Ragnarok and kind of get invested. Here, she already doesn't care, which sucks. But I don't know. She'll probably care more than she does about Zelda.
Okay,
so
but
we'll
like,
see.
what about like Henry? Is Henry into it?
Star Wars?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. He has no. I put on like some cartoon that was on Disney Plus the other day
With
to
the
see if
baby
maybe he'd get
Jedi
into
one?
like lightsabers and shit. But yeah,
Was it that
babies?
new
Yeah,
baby
they're little
Jedi
kid
show?
Jedis. They're
Yeah,
little
the
kid
baby
Jedis.
Jedis. That's hilarious.
But he doesn't care about anything he watches because kids these days it's disgusting. There's 9,000. Like he can literally watch a new show for the rest of his life.
Maybe in a
And-
couple of years when he attains like full sentience, he'll retain some of this stuff and remember it.
Yeah, that's the thing. He doesn't, because there's so much of it. It's so disposable to him. Basically,
Yeah.
he doesn't have to care about anything. I was like, oh, I have no idea what this is. Let's put this on. It's gross.
Make Henry watch.
He'll never
Andor.
grow up caring about like Ninja Turtles and Transformers because we only cared about them because that was the only thing, right? It was that, or a couple other things, right? At least when I was growing up.
Is that the only reason?
I mean, yeah.
I think you might be right.
So it's
I love Star Wars because they put it on at daycare one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know. So yeah.
Well, I hope you.
Well, I also watched RoboCop at that daycare, and I don't love RoboCop.
You watch RoboCop at a daycare?
Yes, right. You want to talk about that?
I want to hear this story before we move on. Okay, I want to hear this story.
No, I mean that's the story. Is like one day they put on RoboCop for like the older kids, but they didn't care that like younger kids like me walked into the room and sat and watched a lot of shit he shouldn't have watched.
Murphy,
what was their definition of older kid? Like,
I don't know, like middle school.
Middle school? Okay.
Yeah.
That's we're talking about the 90s. Like,
it was the 90s. It was Clinton's America. Things were good, Chris.
To be fair, my parents did put on Terminator 2 for us when I was like 7 years old. So like that was
they were taking like summer movie like the daycare I went to over the summer, like when my parents had to work, would take like field trips to the movie theaters, and like if you were 13 or older or 12 or older, you got to go see Jurassic Park. So I mean, it's like, like, well, who cares?
Okay. All right. I mean, to be fair, Jurassic Park's not that violent though.
Okay, but when I was a kid, I was fucking terrified.
Oh no, it was absolutely terrifying for when you're a kid. See the T-Rex come out on the.
I didn't understand why the dinosaurs were so mean to the people.
They were hungry. Okay, all right. So listen, Zelda launches in 22 minutes. We need to wrap up this show. How about we do the 4-player minute?
Okay.
What's the 4-player minute?
My stopped preloading. It like turned off and then it stopped preloading. I had to turn it back on and I realized it's like made no progress. But whatever, I'm not playing tonight anyways because I have to get up and go to work in the morning.
You're not the only one. 4-player minute. What is it?
I'll go first.
Whatever we want to talk about for preferably a minute. So Brad, please go first.
Well, for me, it would be, I guess, I just want to say that I might be streaming again soon, as soon as next week, and I'm going to try to make it a regular thing. Now, as far as what it is that I'm going to stream, it probably needs to be something that is, well, we'll see. Probably something that Malia will kind of sit in with me and watch me play. But yeah, I have a new setup and a new yeah, we'll see. I'm getting set up for that. So I look forward to that. Yeah, I'm in a new here, I'll show you. I'm in a new establishment. I've been very busy.
Yes, you have. And congratulations on that establishment, by the way.
What'd you do?
But now I could speak very loud and my children can't hear me because they're on the
Did you buy a house?
Opposite end of a new house, yes. Yes, I did.
Fucking bullshit, man. I'm never gonna buy a house. God damn it.
No, I mean it's
too late.
Look, I hate when people tell me congratulations because what the fuck are you talking about?
You're gonna be
I
buried
just have
in
a
that
lot
house.
less money now, so I don't want to hear it. It was a terrible time to buy a house.
Yeah, but you've got a roof over your head, which is something to be thankful for in capitalism.
I had a roof over my head before, and I was happy.
We will throw you in the gutter if you ever disparage the value of your capital.
I'm not. I have a lot less money now, so yeah.
Guess who's double dipping on Zelda as we speak?
Oh, really?
Yeah, see,
Okay.
I'm not waiting for your fucking UPS. God damn it.
I don't blame you.
um,
All right.
You may have a house, but I have video games.
That's gotta have something. Gotta have something. Chris, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go to?
I think it's important as we stand on the precipice of this monumental launch to just sit and take stock of the world as it is right now before everything changes once again. You know, it's been a good year for video games.
Yes.
It's been a
It
good
has.
run.
It has. I finished
We
0 of them.
we
Not
picked
even Resident Evil 4. I haven't reached credits.
we picked an excellent year to do this fantasy league. And I don't want the bickering and the gamesmanship of Fantasy League to distract from the fact that, like, damn, what a good year it's been. And what a good year to come. And
Like I
like
said,
there's just a lot of good stuff to come. But yeah, man, Zelda, right? Like
fuck man.
tomorrow we wake up to a brave new world. Tomorrow we wake up with a higher standard for what video games could and should be. And I just want everyone to like sit with that for a minute and appreciate it. And just wow. Wow.
Man, fuck Zelda. It's all about Honkai Star Rail. How come y'all haven't been talking about that on this
What the
podcast?
fuck is that? Is that about a space train?
It's the new Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
The Genshin Impact people put out a sci-fi game, and
Oh.
and your polls are people getting off of like this Galaxy Express
Wait,
999
is
thing.
it but is it like a action open world game like Genshin?
I
Yes.
think it has turn-based combat. Actually,
Oh, that kind of sucks.
we're living in a post Genshin Impact world. Okay.
Well, we
The
also
Tears
live
of
in
the
a
Kingdom.
post Darkest Dungeon 2 world, so
Mm,
I hate turn-based combat now.
Boo! The combat's great in that game. Stop it.
That's my 4-player minute. What do you got, Chris?
Well, my 4-player minute, which is just gonna echo y'all with Zelda. Fuck, man. Okay, so confession. I double dipped with this game. I am picking it up tomorrow from Best Buy, and then in the mail, GameStop is shipping me the limited edition because that was the best way for me to get that. It's likely going to be the last time I ever buy a product from GameStop. Not just because I think they're a terrible company, but I don't think they're going to be around for much longer. Fuck, man. So I was going to take tomorrow off. I was very excited for that. And then last week I started a new job, and it's been such a whirlwind the past week and a half of just training and meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings. I have had 28 hours of meetings this week, just back to back to back. And so I've got another 7 hours of meetings tomorrow. And then I will be free. And once Zelda is installed on my Zelda machine, I'm disappearing. You may not ever hear from me again. I'm just going to play that, and I may come up for air every now and then, but God help you, I will
Y'all are so fucking. You guys are wieners.
Dramatic.
Wieners?
Yeah.
Never if I
Never
took a
claimed
day
I
off,
wasn't.
if I took a day off to play Zelda, I would just probably play less Zelda than if I just played Zelda on my lunch break at work.
Hey, I'm not taking time off work to play Zelda. I'm just gonna half-ass my job and play Zelda at the same time.
The thing is, if me playing lots of Zelda just means me being a bad father, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Like I do that when Monster Hunter's
You're
out.
okay with being a bad father.
Look, I'm just going to temporarily be a bad father. I admit that.
They're
It's
young. They won't remember.
It's the only way. It's the only. Well, Henry will. He's old enough now. I just
Okay,
gotta
but
rope him into my Zelda playing.
Would you
He's-
be a
he's a-
better father if you lived a less fully actualized life?
Henry's
one
not
you'd
going
be
to
living where you
really remember this. I mean, he only recently just mastered object permanence, so like it's okay.
Well, he turned 6. He turned 6 in a couple months. He's
Yes,
older than you think.
but I mean, like 6-year-old. Like, are you even sentient at that point? Like,
Yeah, kinda. I remember 6.
I don't know about that. Like, you're
This is when it starts to count, you know?
Yeah, but he's not going to remember, Brad not being around when he's our age. So it'll be okay.
Yeah, but I like that the version of Brad not being around is like he's just in the other room playing video games.
Brad didn't go out for cigarettes, never came back. He just went to the other room and played Zelda.
I mean, look, I'm gonna be real with y'all. What I'm probably gonna do is take off work and then, but still be at work. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it just go somewhere else to play Zelda.
Yeah.
You gotta go to a hotel.
Go to a hotel.
Get
Do
you away.
do you guys rent rooms hourly or?
Only at certain hotels. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we have said everything we can possibly say tonight. Gang, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. 4playernetwork.com is our website. We stream the podcast weekly on Thursdays, usually starting at around 8 o'clock Central Time on twitch.tv/4player podcast. Spelled out 4, not the number.
FOUR.
FOUR. So thanks again. Stay safe. Have fun. Play video games. Have a good night.
All you had to do is remember his little outro, and you couldn't do it.
I got close
Nick's
enough.
does the same thing. He does the same thing every week.
Yeah, I got close enough, and I'm hosting. Good night.